What's up, budget builders? My name is Trail, and today we want to discuss the new stimulus plans that are starting to show up. We mentioned previously how the Democrats have been unable to pass those two infrastructure bills, the $1.2 trillion bipartisan bill and the $3.5 trillion budget reconciliation bill. And the trouble with passing both of those has to do with the moderate Democrats and the progressives, specifically speaking of Senators Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema. Both have been opposed to the price tag of the bills, which has made it very challenging to get them passed into legislation. The bipartisan bill was passed in the Senate, but being held up in the House because the Democrats want to pass both bills at the same time in tandem order. But two specific Democrats are not willing to support this massive price tag in the Senate, which is holding up the bipartisan bill to be passed in the House. Well, after nearly resulting in a government shutdown and a default, the Democrats are now looking into other ways to pass legislation that would be of the likes of Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema. The Democrats are now shifting to a smaller $2.5 trillion package, which they see it as an option to pass right now. I mentioned to you guys before that if the $3.5 trillion package is unsuccessful in passing by its own party members, known as the Democrats, then we might start seeing other stimulus plans surface as an alternative. And that's exactly where we are today. Now, in addition to that, to add to more insult, the U.S. is now dealing with a shipping crisis, which is causing a strain on supply chains for all companies around the United States. And even in other countries are seeing supply chain constraints. So now, President Biden administration has a new task to tackle in the midst of everything else that's going on right now. President Biden met with some executives of major corporations to discuss what can be done to fix this issue. And then other discussions around Christmas season this year may be different than other years have been in the past, which is why they are suggesting that you start your Christmas shopping right now. Before Thanksgiving, before Black Friday? That's crazy, right? And then in more popular news, the child tax credit payments should be in your bank accounts this morning for those that have direct deposit. Hopefully the IRS doesn't have issues this month as they did in September. I've already checked my account and my payment has been deposited. So yes, guys, go ahead and check your accounts after you finish watching this video, of course. But anyways, guys, hey, those are just some of the topics that we're going to cover today. Now, if this is your first time to the channel, hey, welcome and glad to have you. On this channel, we talk about finance, real estate, credit cards, Bitcoin and crypto, money, and stimulus update news. So if you're interested in any of those, go ahead and hit the subscribe button for me. That way you can join our community. Also, if you end up liking the content in this video or even laughing at one of my corny jokes, then be sure to like this video. Other than that, guys, hey, let's go ahead and jump right into the video. Okay, guys, we are having a shipping crisis right now in this country, which is affecting everyone, from everything including semiconductors, cars, sneakers, exercise equipment, and even food. This is in regards to having products shipped from other countries. For those that don't know, 90% of the world's global trade is shipped by sea, and 70% of that is shipped in containers. So, because of the pandemic that has put a strain on the manpower that goes into shipping items by sea, companies have been limited to employees working at the same time with COVID restrictions. Some employees unable to go to work because they refuse to get vaccinated. And then we have seen thousands of people have even quit their jobs over the past 6 months. So there is a strain on the amount of people being able to work and unload these containers. So all of this plays a factor in the process of unloading these containers and shipping them to their locations. Right now, there are about 55 barges in the sea waiting for a chance to dock and be unloaded. But because of the shortage of employees, it's taking longer than expected, which all of this is affecting the supply chains for majority of businesses around the world. President Biden met with the big corporate executives earlier this week to discuss what can be done to improve this dire situation. And this is what President Biden had to say.
Today, we have an important announcement that will get things you buy to the shelves faster. After weeks of negotiation and working with my team and with the major union retailers and freight movers, the Port of Los Angeles announced today that it's going to begin operating 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Walmart, our nation's largest retailer, is committing to go all in on moving its products 24/7 from the ports to their stores nationwide. Additionally, FedEx and UPS, two of our nation's biggest freight movers, are committing today to significantly increase the amount of goods they're moving at night. And other companies are stepping up as well. They include Target, Home Depot, and Samsung, that have all committed to ramp up their activities to utilize off-peak hours at the ports.
So yes, guys, executives as well as ports in California have agreed to open up the ports 24/7 to increase the amount of goods being unloaded and shipped to the stores nationwide. He actually spoke with the executives from Walmart, UPS, Target, Home Depot, and others. So this is a great move in the right direction, but it's going to take some time to fix all of this with the amount of containers that are waiting to be unloaded. But this is not going to be an easy fix, guys. It's going to take some time, and it will probably get worse before it gets better. They are also telling people that Christmas may be different this year, considering there may not be enough items to go around to everyone who wants them. USA Today came out with this article on Wednesday. Y'all heard of this movie called How the Grinch Stole Christmas, right? Well, a new movie is unfolding, and it could be called How the Supply Chain Stole Christmas. Sorry guys, just one of my corny jokes. Please forgive me. But in other news, former President Clinton was hospitalized yesterday for a non-COVID related issue. Clinton was admitted into the hospital for a sepsis issue. This is when your body's extreme response to an infection. It is a life-threatening medical emergency when an infection triggers a chain reaction throughout your body. We will keep Clinton and his family in our prayers. New stimulus plans are coming our way. I stated before that with the Democrats unable to rally its own party in passing that massive $3.5 trillion budget reconciliation bill, the Democrats might end up lowering the price tag, as well as we could even see new stimulus plans being presented on the table. The Democrats are already floating another social spending bill to put Republicans on the spot on popular benefit expansions before the 2022 midterms. Says right here, if the Democrats can't cram all of Biden's social spending promises into the reconciliation bill this year, they may try again next year. Congressional Democrats are grappling with key decisions on whether measures should be scaled back or axed as they struggle to reach a middle ground with a small but potent centrist fraction made up of figures like Senators Joe Manchin of West Virginia and Kyrsten Sinema. Progressives are superheading efforts to avoid pitting measures against each other, like affordable childcare against tuition-free community college. But some in the party are starting to float another Democratic-only spending bill next year, perhaps as a way to score additional policy wins or pick what was ejected ahead of the 2022 midterms. Representative John Uramuth of Kentucky said that I have broached the subject with a number of people in leadership positions in the caucus. And there is certainly a willingness to pursue that idea if it makes sense at that time. And then we heard from Representative Donald Bayer of Virginia. He said, I do think it's feasible. We are all aware of the fragility of the majorities in the Senate and the House. We're going to do our very best to keep building on them. He cautioned that many frontline Democrats in swing House districts may become harder sells on another party line bill, and it would depend whether measures are included. Still, Yarmouth mapped out a scenario where potentially drop provisions like a Medicare expansion that's popular with older voters essentially dares Republicans to oppose it. He said it is a good opportunity to put Republicans on the spot, adding it was good politics and good policy. Democrats do have another chance at the reconciliation next year. The same legislative maneuver they're using to skirt GOP opposition and to approve the social safety net bill with only a sample majority rather than the 60 votes typically needed. They seek to expand education, healthcare, child tax credits, and many, many more. So yeah, guys, if the Democrats are unable to pass this legislation right now, they're going to include much smaller bills here going forward. Perhaps either 1 or 2 or 3 bills that have a much smaller price tag in order to be able to pass all of them through legislation in order to get by Joe Manchin as well as Kyrsten Sinema, considering they are not in support of a massive stimulus bill worth $3.5 trillion. And then right here, we can see that the Democratic leaders are floating the contours of a $2.5 trillion spending and tax cut reconciliation framework before senators left last week for a brief recess in hopes that the whole caucus would go along with a slightly smaller price tag. During a caucus meeting last Thursday with Senate Democrats, leadership pitched a top line of roughly $1.5 trillion in new spending on programs such as child care, housing, climate policies, and a Medicare expansions, according to a presentation slides obtained by the HuffPost and top Senate aides familiar with the presentation. The bill would also provide $1 trillion in tax cuts for working families, including an extension to boosted child tax credits, Affordable Care Act premium subsidy credits, and housing and clean energy tax credits. Overall, the bill's price tag would be around $2.5 trillion. So yeah, guys, I think that passing these smaller stimulus packages is much favored in going into next year's midterm elections. I think that Joe Manchin might be able to support a smaller price tag, especially if he knows what exactly is going into it. And then the Democrats are able to push in individual items into those bills that they want to include in the $3.5 trillion budget reconciliation bill. I think that this has an actual better opportunity in passing in the House and the Senate. Now, in regards to whether we will see a stimulus check in the near future, none of these stimulus proposals will actually include a stimulus check in the proposal. But that doesn't mean that we won't see a stimulus check being added to the bill when it's time to get voted on. If you recall, the last 2 stimulus packages ended up having a stimulus check added to them at the end of the negotiations when it was time to vote on those bills. So as we move forward and have new bills being introduced, don't get discouraged if we don't see or hear a stimulus check being offered. The stimulus proposals needs to make sure that all other things are included in the bill and then at the last minute sneak in a 4th stimulus check. I know some people in the comments section have been stating that we will never receive another stimulus check, but I am optimistic about that we will see a stimulus check, but only time will tell. Until then, the Democrats might introduce a smaller size bill right now to get several things passed and done right now, and then create another bill later to try and cram in all of the other items that they actually want. This will start to play out over the next month or 2 as the Democrats work towards raising the debt ceiling to avoid a shutdown and a default on its obligations. The Democrats have before December the 3rd to get that done, or else the Democrats are going to be in trouble when it's time for the midterm elections in 2022. They must increase the debt ceiling on their own or take on the idea from House Speaker Nancy Pelosi to remove the debt ceiling issue over to the Treasury Secretary for them to be responsible for it. So Congress no longer has to use politics in deciding whether or not this country will default on its promises. I actually like that idea and it sounds great on paper. We will see what happens over the next couple of months. But I do have a question for you guys. Have any of you started stocking up on goods and food in advance so that you don't have to deal with these shortages? Let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. I'm curious to see what you guys have been doing to prepare yourselves for the future. Anyways, my time is up for today. Now, if you enjoyed this type of content and you want to see more, hey, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. It's totally free. And if you enjoyed this video, go ahead and hit the like button for us. It definitely helps out the channel a lot and it tells YouTube to share this video with others. Anyways, guys, hey, I appreciate you guys stopping by and watching, and I hope to see you on the next video. Peace.